Growing up as Victoria Hamilton's daughter wasn't easy. Every breath I took, every step I made, was carefully monitored and judged. My father, the CEO of Hamilton Industries, had my entire life planned out before I could even walk. "Charlotte, darling," he'd say, adjusting his perfectly pressed Armani suit, "a Hamilton never settles for second best." Our mansion in Beverly Hills stood as a testament to that philosophy. 28 rooms of carefully curated luxury, each one screaming wealth and power. But to me, it felt more like a golden cage than a home. By the time I turned 25, I had followed my father's blueprint perfectly. Harvard Business School graduate, junior executive at Hamilton Industries, and engaged to Bradley Winchester ILI. Heir to Winchester Technologies and my father's handpicked choice for my husband. There was just one small problem. I was desperately, hopelessly in love with someone else. I met James Mitchell on a rainy Tuesday morning when my Ferrari broke down on the way to work. He was the mechanic who came to my rescue, arriving in a beaten-up tow truck with a smile that made my heart skip a beat. "Looks like your timing belt's shot," he said, wiping his hands on his worn jeans. "I can fix it, but it'll take a few hours." Something about his honest brown eyes and the way he explained everything without talking down to me made me agree to wait at his small garage instead of calling an Uber. That decision changed my life forever. Over cups of terrible vending machine coffee, I discovered James wasn't just any mechanic. He'd worked his way through engineering school, graduating top of his class. He could have taken a cushy corporate job, but he loved working with his hands, solving problems, making things better. "Life's too short to spend it doing something just because it looks good on paper," he told me, his eyes twinkling. Those words hit me like a thunderbolt. For the first time, someone had put into words exactly what I'd been feeling all my life. One coffee led to another, then dinner, then stolen moments whenever I could escape my suffocating world. James never asked about my family's wealth, never tried to impress me with fancy restaurants or expensive gifts. Instead, he showed me the joy of simple things: midnight drives along the coast, picnics in hidden parks, and laughter. So much laughter. For 6 months, I lived a double life. Society princess by day, myself by night. But I knew it couldn't last forever. The breaking point came during a charity gala at our mansion. Bradley was droning on about merger strategies to anyone who would listen, while my mother paraded me around like a prized thoroughbred. "Charlotte will be taking over the East Coast operations after the wedding," she'd announced to yet another group of socialites. The Winchesters and Hamiltons. Imagine the possibilities. I felt like I was suffocating. Excusing myself, I fled to the garden, my trembling fingers already dialing James's number. "I can't do this anymore," I whispered into the phone, tears streaming down my face. "I can't marry Bradley. I can't be who they want me to be." James was silent for a moment before speaking. "Then don't be. Be who you are, Charlotte. That's the person I fell in love with." That night changed everything. The next morning, I walked into my father's study, my heart pounding but my resolve firm. "Daddy, I need to tell you something." My voice shook slightly. "I can't marry Bradley. I'm in love with someone else." The explosion that followed was nuclear. My father's face turned purple as I explained about James, about wanting a different life than the one he planned. "A mechanic?" he roared, his fist slamming onto his mahogany desk. "My daughter, a Hamilton, in love with a grease monkey. He's an engineer, Daddy, and he's brilliant. If you just meet him." "Absolutely not." My father's voice could have shattered glass. "You will marry Bradley as planned, or you can forget about your trust fund, your position at the company, everything. Is that clear?" I stood up straighter, channeling strength I didn't know I had. "Crystal clear, Daddy. Goodbye." Walking out of that study was the hardest thing I'd ever done. My mother's hysterical tears, my father's threats, the whispers of the household staff. It all followed me as I packed a small bag and left the only home I'd ever known. James was waiting for me outside his modest apartment, worry etched on his face. When I told him what happened, he tried to talk me out of it. "Charlotte, that's your whole life you're giving up. Your family, your inheritance. I can't let you do that for me." I silenced him with a kiss. "I'm not giving up my life, James. I'm finally starting it." The next few months were a crash course in reality. I moved into James' one-bedroom apartment, got a job as an entry-level business consultant at a small firm, and learned how to live on a budget. It wasn't easy, but for the first time in my life, I felt free. My parents' attempts to bring me to my senses ranged from emotional manipulation to outright threats. They froze my accounts, canceled my credit cards, and even tried to get me fired from my new job. But with each obstacle, James and I grew stronger together. When we decided to get married, we planned a simple ceremony in a local park. No designer dress, no society photographers, just us and a few close friends. The morning of the wedding, I received a text from my mother. Your father and I will be attending. One last chance to fix this mistake. My heart raced as I showed James the message. He squeezed my hand. It's your call, love. Whatever you want. I wanted them there. Despite everything, they were still my parents. So when I walked down the makeshift aisle in my simple white dress from a department store, my eyes instantly found them standing at the back. My father looked like he'd swallowed something sour, while my mother dabbed at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. Neither moved to join the ceremony. During the reception, a casual barbecue in the park, they made their final play. Charlotte, darling, my mother's voice dripped with desperation. It's not too late. Bradley would still take you back. Think about what you're throwing away. My father cut straight to the point. This is your last chance, young lady. Stay with this person, and you'll never see a penny of your inheritance. Is that what you want? To live in poverty. I looked at James, who was chatting and laughing with our friends, completely at ease in his rented suit. Then I looked at my parents, trapped in their world of wealth and expectations. What I want, I said clearly, is to be happy. James makes me happy. If you can't understand that, then maybe we don't need your money, or you, in our lives. My father's face turned that dangerous shade of purple again. You're a dumb daughter of mine, he spat, turning on his heel. My mother hesitated for a moment, then hurried after him. As they stormed away, James appeared at my side, wrapping an arm around my waist. You okay? I leaned into him, watching my past walk away. Never better. That was 6 months ago. We settled into our life together, working hard, loving harder. James continued at his garage while taking night classes for his master's degree. I threw myself into my consulting work, building my own client base. We were happy, truly happy, even if we had to watch our spending and clip coupons. But there was something James hadn't told me, something that was about to turn my world upside down again. Everything changed on a seemingly ordinary Friday evening. I came home from work early, excited to surprise James with takeout from our favorite Thai place. But our apartment was empty, with a hastily scribbled note on the counter. Working late at the garage. Love you. It wasn't unusual for James to work late, but something felt different. Lately he'd been distracted, taking mysterious phone calls and working odd hours. A knot formed in my stomach as my mind wandered to dark places. Was history repeating itself? Was I about to lose everything again? Unable to sit still, I decided to bring dinner to him at the garage. But when I pulled up, the place was dark. James's beaten-up truck wasn't in its usual spot. My hands trembled as I called his number. Straight to voicemail. Just as panic started to set in, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Mrs. Mitchell, please come to 1875 Highland Avenue immediately. It's about your husband. My heart stopped. Highland Avenue was in the industrial district, miles from James's garage. With shaking fingers, I typed the address into my GPS and drove through the darkening city, imagining worst-case scenarios. The GPS led me to a massive, modern building with sleek glass walls. Security gates opened automatically as I approached, and a uniformed guard directed me to an underground parking garage. Mrs. Mitchell, he nodded respectfully. Take the executive elevator to the top floor. Executive elevator? Top floor? What was going on? The elevator opened into a stunning office suite with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. And there, standing at a glass desk with his back to me, was James, but not the James I knew. Gone were the worn jeans and oil-stained t-shirt. Instead, he wore an impeccably tailored suit that probably cost more than our monthly rent. When he turned around, his familiar warm smile was tinged with nervousness. Charlie, he said softly, using his special nickname for me, I think it's time I told you everything. Before he could continue, the office door burst open. And there, like a scene from my worst nightmare, stood my father, mother, and Bradley Winchester Ally. What is the meaning of this? My father thundered, his face already turning that familiar shade of purple. Security said Charlotte was headed up here. What are you doing in the CEO's office, you mechanic? James straightened his tie and walked around the desk. Actually, Mr. Hamilton, I am the CEO. James Mitchell, founder and chief executive officer of Mitchell Innovations. The silence that followed was deafening. My mother grabbed a chair for support. Bradley's mouth hung open unattractively, and my father, for the first time in my life, was speechless. But my mother stammered, "You're a mechanic." James smiled, taking my hand. I own a chain of auto repair shops, yes. It was my first business, started with a loan from my college professor. But Mitchell Innovations is my main focus. We're a tech company specializing in revolutionary electric vehicle batteries. That's what those late nights at the garage were about. We were finalizing our new prototype. My head was spinning. Why didn't you tell me? Because I needed to know, James said softly, turning to face me. When we met, I just made the Forbes 30 under 30 list. Every woman I dated was only interested in my money, my status. But you fell in love with me when I was just a mechanic. You gave up everything for me. I had to be sure. Mitchell Innovations, my father muttered, his business mind finally catching up. The company that just revolutionized electric vehicle battery technology. The one every major car manufacturer is fighting to partner with. That's you. James nodded. Our market valuation hit $12 billion last week. Not quite Hamilton Industries territory, but we're getting there. I couldn't help but laugh at my father's expression. All those months of looking down on my poor husband, and James had been building an empire right under their noses. And now, James continued, his voice taking on a sharper edge, I'd like to discuss how you treated your daughter. The woman who, by the way, just became one of the largest shareholders in Mitchell Innovations when she married me. My father's face paled. Hamilton Industries had been trying to break into the electric vehicle market for years. Having a connection to Mitchell Innovations would have been a game changer. Now see here, my father blustered, trying to regain control. We were just looking out for Charlotte's best interests. By disarming her? James's voice was steel wrapped in silk. By trying to get her fired? By making her cry herself to sleep for weeks. Daddy, I finally found my voice. You always taught me that Hamiltons never settle for second best. Well, I didn't. I married the most brilliant, kind, and successful man I've ever known. And I did it without knowing about any of this. Charlotte, sweetheart, my mother stepped forward, arms outstretched. We were wrong. We see that now. Please come home. I looked around the magnificent office, then at James, my wonderful husband who had let me find my own way, support myself, grow stronger. I am home, Mom, but if you want to be part of our lives, you'll have to accept us on our terms. No more manipulation. No more control. My father looked like he was choking on something particularly unpleasant. And what about Hamilton Industries? James smiled. Well, sir, we've actually had several offers from your competitors for exclusive partnerships. But I thought, given the family connection, we might consider a different arrangement, if you're interested in discussing it, as equals. The next hour was surreal. My father and James talked business while my mother fussed over my terrible apartment and insisted we move into a proper home. Bradley had slunk away somewhere, probably to lick his wounds. Later that night, back in our small apartment, I finally asked James the question that had been burning in my mind. Why keep working at the garage? Why live like this when you have billions? James pulled me close. The garage keeps me grounded, reminds me where I started. And this apartment, these months with you, they've been the happiest of my life. We made it ours together, without any silver spoons or trust funds. Tears welled in my eyes. I love you, you sneaky billionaire. He laughed. I love you too, you runaway Harris. Life changed after that night, but not in the ways people might expect. We did move, but into a modest house we chose together. I joined Mitchell Innovations as head of their charitable foundation, using our resources to help other young entrepreneurs. James still spends time at his original garage, teaching mechanical skills to underprivileged youth. My parents, well, they're trying. Mom still makes not-so-subtle hints about grandchildren needing trust funds, but Dad has developed a genuine respect for James. Their weekly business meetings often turned into lengthy discussions about everything from classic cars to philosophy. As for me, I finally understood what James meant about life being too short to live it on paper. Sometimes the best things come disguised as broken down Ferraris and coffee from vending machines. But the best part? Every now and then, when we drive past our old apartment or grab Thai food from our favorite takeout place, James still looks at me the same way he did when he was just a mechanic and I was just a rebel Harris. Because in the end, love doesn't care about bank accounts or business empires. It cares about who you are when everything else is stripped away. And we're simply Charlotte and James, a mechanic and a runaway Harris who found something better than billions. We found each other. I never thought I'd see my parents again after they abandoned me at age 8. That day is burned into my memory forever. Mom and Dad dropping me off at Grandma Rose's house with just a small backpack of clothes, promising they'd be back soon. We just need some time to sort things out, Emma, Mom had said, not quite meeting my eyes. Be good for Grandma. They never came back. The first few months were the hardest. Every day, I'd sit by Grandma's front window after school, watching cars drive by, hoping the next one would be them. Every night, I'd cry myself to sleep, wondering what I'd done wrong, why I wasn't good enough for them to stay. But Grandma Rose was my saving grace. You're perfect just as you are, my sweet girl, she'd tell me, wiping away my tears. Some people aren't ready to be parents, and that's not your fault. But I'm here, and I'll always be here. Grandma Rose wasn't just any grandmother. She was brilliant, sophisticated, and as I later learned, incredibly wealthy, but you'd never know it from how she lived. Our home was modest, she drove an old Toyota, and she still worked as a high school principal because she loved shaping young minds. The only hints of her wealth were her impeccable taste in art and the way she'd sometimes casually mention her investments while reading the financial papers. Under Grandma's care, I flourished. She encouraged my love of science, hired tutors when I struggled with math, and celebrated every achievement, no matter how small. When I won first place in the state science fair at 13, she threw a huge party and invited all my friends. That's my girl, she beamed, hugging me tight. You're going to change the world someday. Life settled into a comfortable rhythm. Grandma and I against the world. She never spoke badly about my parents, but she made sure I knew their absence wasn't my fault. Sometimes people make choices they can't take back, she'd say wisely. But those choices reflect on them, not on you. I stopped thinking about my parents, stopped hoping they'd return, stopped caring why they left. I had Grandma, and that was enough. She was more than enough. Then came my 18th birthday. Grandma threw me an elegant party at her favorite restaurant, invited all my friends, and gave me a beautiful necklace, a delicate gold chain with a small key pendant. This is more than just jewelry, Emma, she said mysteriously. Keep it safe. You'll understand when the time comes. I didn't know then that it would be our last celebration together. 3 months later, Grandma Rose collapsed at school. By the time I reached the hospital, she was gone. Heart attack, the doctor said. Quick and painless. But the pain I felt was anything but quick. It tore through me like a hurricane, leaving nothing but emptiness in its wake. The funeral was beautiful, just as Grandma would have wanted. Her former students filled the church, sharing stories of how she changed their lives. I sat alone in the front row, clutching the key necklace she'd given me, trying to be strong like she taught me to be. That's when I saw them. My parents walked into the church like they belonged there, like they hadn't abandoned their daughter a decade ago. Mom's hair was grayer, Dad had gained weight, but I'd have known them anywhere. My heart stopped, then started racing. They made their way toward me, faces full of what looked like concern. Emma, sweetheart, Mom said, reaching for my hand. I pulled away instinctively. We came as soon as we heard. We're so sorry about your grandmother. Dad nodded solemnly. We know it's been a long time, but we're here now. You'll come home with us, of course. You're still a minor for a few more months, and we're your legal guardians. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. 10 years of silence, and now they wanted to play happy family. I'm not going anywhere with you, I managed to say, my voice shaking with anger. Grandma Rose was my home. Now, Emma, Mom said, her voice taking on a stern edge I remembered from childhood. Don't be difficult. We're your parents. You have no choice in this matter. Actually, a deep voice interrupted, she has every choice. We turned to see a tall man in an expensive suit walking toward us, carrying a leather briefcase. "I'm James Morrison, Rose Montgomery's attorney, and we need to have a conversation about your grandmother's will." My parents' expressions changed instantly. Mom's eyes lit up with barely concealed interest, while Dad straightened his tie nervously. "Of course," he said smoothly. "We're her only living relatives, after all." Mr. Morrison's face remained impassive. "Let's step into the private room. There are some matters that need to be addressed immediately." As we followed him, I noticed my hand had moved to clutch the key necklace Grandma had given me. Somehow, I knew everything was about to change. Again. I just didn't realize how much. The private room at the church felt too small for the tension building inside it. Mr. Morrison sat across from us at a polished wooden table, methodically arranging papers from his briefcase. My parents flanked me like anxious vultures, trying to appear concerned while their eyes kept darting to the documents. Before we begin, Mr. Morrison said, adjusting his glasses, "Miss Emma, would you please show me your necklace?" My parents looked confused, but I reached for the key pendant Grandma had given me. Mr. Morrison nodded, a slight smile crossing his face. "Perfect. Now let me read the terms of Rose Montgomery's will." He cleared his throat and began reading. "I, Rose Montgomery, being of sound mind, declare this to be my last will and testament." The legal language washed over me until one sentence made my heart stop. "To my beloved granddaughter, Emma Grace Montgomery, I leave my entire estate, including all properties, investments, bank accounts, and business holdings, currently valued at approximately $47 million. The room erupted in chaos. "$47 million? Mom shrieked, her face turning red. "That's impossible." Rose was a school principal. Dad slammed his hand on the table. "This is ridiculous. We're her only children. You can't tell me she left everything to a teenager." Mr. Morrison remained calm. "There's more. The will specifies that Emma is to be legally emancipated immediately, with a trust established in her name. The key she wears opens a safety deposit box containing additional documents and instructions." My head was spinning. $47 million? Grandma Rose, my modest, Toyota-driving grandmother, had been worth $47 million. "This will is dated just last month," Mom said, her voice dangerous. "We'll contest it. Emma's still a minor. We're her legal guardians, and we have rights." "Actually," Mr. Morrison interrupted, "you surrendered those rights 10 years ago." He pulled out another document. "This is a copy of the abandonment charges Rose filed against you both after you left Emma. You never responded to the court summons, so she was granted full legal custody. You haven't been Emma's guardians for a very long time." I watched my parents' faces transform. The fake concern melted away, replaced by naked greed and fury. "Emma, sweetie," Mom tried again, her voice honey-sweet. "You don't understand what you're doing. Let us help you manage this. We're family." "Family?" The word felt like poison in my mouth. Where was family when you left me? Where was family for 10 years while Grandma Rose raised me? "We made a mistake," Dad said quickly. "We were young, struggling. But we're here now. We can make it right." "Make it right?" I stood up, shaking with anger. "You're only here because you found out about the money. Did you even care that Grandma died? Did you ever care about me?" Their silence was answer enough. Mr. Morrison cleared his throat. "There's one more thing. Rose left a letter for you, Emma." He handed me a sealed envelope. "She asked that you read it alone." I took the envelope and walked out, leaving my parents protesting behind me. Finding a quiet corner of the church, I opened the letter with trembling hands. "My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you've just learned the truth about our family's wealth. I know it's a shock. I kept it secret for many reasons, but mostly to protect you and let you grow up understanding the value of hard work and kindness. I watched your parents choose money over love many times. They abandoned you because I refused to keep funding their extravagant lifestyle. They chose wealth over their own daughter, and in doing so gave me the greatest gift, you. The key I gave you opens more than just a safety deposit box. It opens the door to your future. I've made arrangements for everything. The house is yours. Your college fund is secure. The family business awaits when you're ready. But most importantly, remember this. You are loved. Not for your inheritance, but for who you are. The same quiet strength that helped you survive being abandoned has prepared you to handle this responsibility. Don't let your parents manipulate you. They'll try, but you're stronger than they know. You're a Montgomery woman, and we don't break easily. All my love, Grandma Rose. Tears rolled down my cheeks as I finished reading. In death as in life, Grandma Rose was protecting me, guiding me, loving me. I touched the key around my neck, understanding finally flowing through me. When I returned to the private room, my parents were still arguing with Mr. Morrison about contesting a will. They fell silent when I walked in. Emma, Mom started, but I held up my hand. I want you to leave, I said, my voice steady. Both of you. You're not welcome here. Now listen here, Dad began angrily, but Mr. Morrison interrupted. Should I call security? He asked calmly. As the sole heir and property owner, Emma has the right to have you removed. They stared at me, these strangers who shared my blood, and I saw the moment they realized they'd lost. Not just the money, but any chance of manipulating me. This isn't over, Mom hissed as they gathered their things. You'll regret this. I watched them leave, feeling oddly peaceful. What happens now? I asked Mr. Morrison. He smiled. Now we visit that safety deposit box. Your grandmother left quite detailed instructions about the next steps. Shall we? As we left the church, I caught a glimpse of my parents in the parking lot, arguing furiously. They'd lost everything today. Not that they ever really had it. They'd chosen money over love once before, and that choice had finally caught up with them. I touched the key around my neck and smiled. Grandma Rose had given me more than just an inheritance. She'd given me the power to stand on my own, to face whatever came next. And something told me this was just the beginning. The safety deposit box at First National Bank contained exactly what Grandma Rose had promised, and so much more. As Mr. Morrison helped me go through the contents, I discovered just how thoroughly my grandmother had planned everything. Inside were property deeds, stock certificates, and detailed instructions about the family business. Montgomery Investments, a company I'd never even known existed. But what caught my eye was a USB drive labeled Watch Me First. Mr. Morrison pulled out his laptop, and Grandma Rose's face appeared on screen. She looked healthy, vibrant. This must have been recorded just before she died. Emma, my darling girl, she began, her familiar smile warming my heart. If you're watching this, then everything has happened as I expected. Your parents showed up at my funeral, didn't they? Trying to claim what was never theirs to begin with. I gasped. Even from beyond, she'd known exactly what would happen. You see, Emma, there's something you need to know about your parents. They didn't just abandon you. They tried to steal everything from me first. Your father, my own son, and your mother attempted to transfer all my assets to their names while I was on a business trip. They thought I was just a naive school principal. They never knew I was the one who built Montgomery Investments from the ground up. She paused, her expression hardening. When I discovered their scheme, I gave them a choice. Stay and live modestly while learning the value of hard work, or leave. They chose to leave. They left you behind thinking I'd come begging them to return. They never understood that by abandoning you, they gave up the greatest treasure of all. Tears streamed down my face as Grandma continued. I watched you grow into an extraordinary young woman. Kind, intelligent, hardworking. Everything they're not. That's why I know you're ready for this responsibility. The video continued with detailed instructions about the company, the properties, and most importantly, the charitable foundation she'd established. The Montgomery Foundation provides scholarships to abandoned children. You'll be its new director. Use our wealth to help others like yourself, Emma. That's our true legacy. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Mr. Morrison introduced me to the company's board of directors, who'd all known and respected Grandma Rose. They welcomed me warmly, ready to guide me as I learned the business. My parents didn't give up easily. They hired lawyers, tried to contest the will, even attempted to prove Grandma Rose was mentally unstable when she wrote it. But she'd been too thorough. Every document was in order, every decision legally sound. Their final attempt came 3 months later. They showed up at the Montgomery Investments office, causing a scene in the lobby. We're her parents, Mom shouted as security held them back. She can't keep us out. I met them calmly, dressed in one of Grandma's elegant suits, the key necklace still at my throat. Actually, I can, and I will. We'll go to the press, Dad threatened. Tell everyone how you stole our inheritance. I smiled, channeling Grandma Rose's quiet strength. Go ahead. Tell them how you abandoned your 8-year-old daughter. Tell them how you tried to steal from your own mother. I'm sure the press will love that story." They deflated, finally understanding they'd lost everything, not just the money, but any chance of manipulating me. "Goodbye," I said firmly. "Don't come back." As I watched them leave, I touched the key around my neck, feeling Grandma's presence with me. That evening, I approved the first round of scholarships from the Montgomery Foundation. 20 children from broken homes would get a chance at a better life. Sitting in Grandma's old office, my office now, I looked at her photo on the wall and smiled. She'd given me more than just an inheritance. She'd given me purpose, strength, and the power to help others. The old Toyota still sits in my garage, even though I could afford any car I want. It reminds me of where I came from, of the humble, hard-working woman who taught me that true wealth isn't about money. It's about how you use it to make the world better. Sometimes I wear her old principal's blazer to board meetings. The board members who knew her smile when they see it. They understand. I'm not just Rose Montgomery's hair, I'm her legacy. As for my parents, I heard they moved to another state, telling anyone who will listen about their ungrateful daughter. But their words can't hurt me anymore. I know who I am. I'm Emma Grace Montgomery, and like my grandmother before me, I choose love over money, kindness over greed, and helping others over helping myself. That's what real family does.